So here I am nearing the end of my third week of recovery, and I thought I'd make another little YouTube podcast vid about my relation to rest, shall we say. It's quite ironic that I'm sitting here to do this little recording talking about rest because honestly I've been struggling to rest and I have to have something to do, and so I'm choosing in this moment to record a little podcast to discuss that, to discuss and to look at and to muse about my relationship with rest and what maybe your relationship to rest is. So, it's interesting. I'm definitely someone who looks after myself in terms of self-care, right? I'm not somebody who pushes myself too much in everyday life. That's how I view myself, but that's not necessarily the way that I'm viewed. I remember when I was younger, my mum would always say that I was doing too much, right? I'd be socializing with friends, working full time, studying, and she'd be like, Tony, you're doing too much. On the weekend, I would go out after having worked all week. Was probably studying for a master's or something at the time because I'm a kind of person that's always studying for something, right? So at one point I was working 2 hours away from my house in London. So I was living in London, working 2 hours away in Surrey. So I mean 2 hours away each way. So 2 hours to work, 2 hours to come back. So I'd leave my house at 7 o'clock in the morning to get to work for 9, finish at 5, get back at 7. And at the same time, I was studying for postgraduate diploma in librarianship. So I'm working in a library, studying a postgrad to become a librarian, like a professional librarian. And then on the weekend, I'd be going out partying. So this was my 20s, right? I'd be going out partying. And then I'd be like, I'm so tired. And my mum would be like, it's because you're doing too much. And I would be like, oh, am I? Like, I could never quite see it because to me, I was not doing that much. And then fast forward to getting glandular fever, which I unfortunately contracted towards the end of this same time. So I think I got glandular fever in 2013, I believe. So actually, I was probably at the end of my 20s by this point, approaching my 30s, working really far away, doing my postgrad. And yeah, I got glandular fever, which forced me to slow down. That's when me and my mum started going to a yoga and meditation class together. But then, as soon as I was fully recovered from that, I moved to a new city, started a new job, and continued my schedule of working full time, socializing a lot, and possibly studying at the same time. I then did a master's a couple years later after that, a couple years after getting glandular fever. And, I'm doing the master's, I was working, so I did the master's full time, I allowed myself that. But again, that was a lot of work, and I also worked part-time. So, I've always been juggling a lot of different things. I've always juggled work and socializing and family and some kind of studying. So my life has always been really full, and I don't think I realise how full my life is until I'm hit with a big period of recovery like I'm in now. So obviously, I had breast cancer back in 2020. I had 6 months off work. And that was again a time when I was left with a whole bunch of time just to focus on my body and recovery and treatment. But that's also when I started my YouTube channel. And that's also when I started posting to Instagram and made my Instagram like a tarot Instagram because I had to have a project. So now I find myself like 5 years later going through recovery for fibroid surgery and You know, I've already got my Instagram ticking along. I've already got my YouTube ticking along. I've already got various writing projects ticking along. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I need something else to do with all this time. And so I find myself recording more of these podcast recordings, which are easy to do because I'm still finding it hard to sit at my desk and actually write on my computer. So to get my thoughts out, I'm finding it really easy just to sit on the sofa with a cup of lemon and ginger tea, talking into my phone. It's fantastic. So that's all a massive introduction to say. I've been musing a lot about my relationship to rest because it's hard for me to rest. And I think that's genuinely because I have so much to do. I have so much buzzing around in me to do. I'm a very creative person. So it's never been enough for me just to work my 9 to 5. I have to be doing because there's so much going on in my brain. Honestly, my imagination is running wild at all times. I'm thinking about words at all times. I'm thinking about stories and narratives at all times. I'm musing about life and philosophy at all times. There's so much going on in my brain that I have to have these different outlets to let them out. But how does that work with rest, right? Because the other thing is I also have the kind of body that needs to move. I'm a fire sign and I'm a Sagittarius, obviously. And I do think it's natural for fire signs to have quite a lot of energy and to want to move often. And though I would often say that I have low energy, again, I don't think that's accurate. I'm not really as low energy as I think. So I may feel too tired to go into town and meet up with a friend, but I'm going to have the energy to do a tarot reading or to write something because I still have to do. And I'm not somebody that can sit on the sofa for hours at a time. I'm going to get up and potter around and start baking, and I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to do yoga. I have quite a lot of physical energy like that as well, which again, I think I often underestimate, except for when it comes to times like this where I'm forced to recover and rest. And I'm like, oh my God, my mind and my body wants to move to some extent, but then I can't move as much as I want to. So walking after abdominal surgery, is a big part of recovery. But really short bursts of walking, like walking around your house and starting with 5 minutes for a couple of weeks and then upping it to 10 minutes. And so here in my 3rd week, my plan was to get up to 10 minutes continuous walking each day. And I was doing that fine for a few days. And then I got utterly exhausted and incredibly achy. And I had to admit to myself that my body wasn't actually ready to do that yet. So despite me feeling the energy in my body, despite me feeling in my brain that I'm ready to start walking a bit more, my actual post-recovery body was like, no. And that's weird, isn't it? Because I'm feeling the energy in my body, which is why I'm creating, because that energy doesn't have to be used physically. That energy for me needs to be used creatively more than anything. And so I'm using it creatively and I'm allowing my body to actually rest. And I've just been musing on that because rethinking myself as an energetic person is strange because, again, I think I underestimate how energetic I am because I'm not the person that's going to go to the gym, okay? I'm not the person that's going to even push myself too far with yoga. I hate hot yoga because it's too hard, even though a lot of my sisters do hot yoga, right? But I do love a vinyasa class, which is that kind of flow, it is that movement. And I do love walking because, again, it's that flow, it's that movement. And I think walking and kind of flowy yoga puts you in that same mind frame of being in flow when you're writing or creating, right? So creation and flow are super important to me, and they are urges that I have in abundance. And it's been interesting to realize during this period of recovery that I can have that creativity and flow without the physical movement. Because physical movement is really hard at the moment. I mean, it's not that hard. I can get up, I can make tea, I can walk around the flat, I can do 5-minute walks quite easily without pain. But, physical movement past 7 or 8 minutes continuously is difficult right now because of the nature of the surgery I've had. And I have to accept that. And I have to build my stamina bit by bit. And I have to take it slow whilst I do that. And that is something that's quite hard to do, because that is true listening to your body. You know that phrase, listen to your body, which is what the doctors told me when I left the hospital. I think sometimes we interpret that as, oh, my body says I can have a donut today, or, oh, you know, my body says I need to lie on the sofa and watch Netflix. But like, really listening to your body is listening to when you may have done too much. It's listening to when you're actually hungry. It's listening to when you actually need to eat lightly. It's listening to when, even if you want to do, you have to be. It's listening to smaller movements being more effective for you than bigger movements at this time. It's a minefield, and it's something I think I'll continue to unpick, because it fascinates me, because in this society, there's all this talk of listening to your body, but we don't live in a way that is conducive to listening to your body, right? Like, if you've got to go to work one day and you wake up and you feel like you really would not like to go to work, most of the time you're going to get yourself to work. Because you may be physically able to get yourself to work, but then is your body really wanting to be there? There's no space for that nuance. So I think it's really hard for any of us to listen to our bodies accurately, to be fair. And when you find yourself in the recovery period, like I am, relearning how to actually hear these intricacies is a little bit unsettling, but also really rewarding. More unsettling than rewarding at this point. But I know it'll be rewarding when I'm out the other side, you know? So anyway, I've got to drink my tea now because it's probably at the perfect temperature. And this was a lot of talking, so I need to have a rest, because my body is saying, have a rest now. You've talked enough. All right, take care. Thanks for listening.